Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast. I'm Kevin McCaffrey, and I'm pointing at a computer screen you can't see because this is an audio medium, but I'm pointing, and that's Adam Mamawala. What's up?
How you doing?
I'm fine. I think, how many times in a row do you think either you or I have started the podcast by asking how the other one's doing, and then the response is a sincerely, I wouldn't say underwhelming, but whelming, maybe?
Yeah, usually a deep exhale followed by the word fine.
Yeah, which I think I think that is good.
Yeah, I think if that's your baseline, you can live that way.
Yeah, you can live that way. We're living that way. Follow us at Away Games Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, all the things. And yeah, so I think as we're recording this on Wednesday morning, I just saw a thing on Twitter, which I don't think Adam has seen yet. It's a weird announcement, but I guess it counts as news. It's a weird announcement given the time. They've announced that Kris Bryant's going to hit leadoff.
Whoa!
Kind of interesting, right?
Very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of don't know what the purpose of announcing at this moment is, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like we did this with Schwarber, basically, right?
Mm-hmm. And Rizzo in fits and starts.
Yeah. I mean, like with Schwarber, like announcing that he was going to be the leadoff hitter.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we all saw how that worked out. Also kind of the same for Hap. Maybe we shouldn't announce the leadoff hitter before the season.
That's true. That's true. It was a Hap thing as well, which I still think that Hap would be the best leadoff option to me. If you're setting up the lineup traditionally, he's a guy who takes a lot of walks, gets on base a good amount, has good speed, some pop.
Right.
But if you put what are your feelings about Kris Bryant atop the lineup?
Well, I'm a little skeptical about it because he's somebody who theoretically should be driving in runs. Now, I know that the whole idea that he won't be just because he's at the top of the order may be overstated because you're only hitting first once, but if the idea is that, Bryant is more of a 3-hitter or 4-hitter, I think, in most people's minds.
Traditionally, yeah.
Yeah, like, he's the guy who you want to come up when there's people on base, and generally speaking, if you're hitting after the pitcher and the 8-hitter in some order, you're going to have less opportunities to do that. But he's also somebody who has been able to take a lot of walks in his career. He's somebody who's a sneaky good base runner, even though he doesn't steal bases. So I don't hate it.
No, me neither. Yeah, I sort of same. I think I'm into. I think a couple of things that I like about it a lot are that one, I'm just reading this now, is that Kris Bryant volunteered to do it. So I think that's interesting.
Well, I think if there were any people still doubting whether or not he's bitter over the whole grievance thing, obviously he spoke to it directly and said, like, hey, I am not, this is coming from my mouth, maybe listen to the words from my mouth rather than speculating about things that I haven't said. But that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's cool that he's volunteering to do it. I think that's always helpful. I think that helps just for the player's own mindset, because we've seen how many people particularly don't enjoy hitting leadoff. It seems like Schwarber did put a lot of pressure on himself to do it. Hayward obviously was terrible up there last year too. It seems like that didn't work for him either. But okay, now we're just, okay. I think I'm reading. So Gordon Wittenmeyer a few minutes ago, my boy said, Bryant said he floated the idea of leading off to Ross and then said, I didn't request it. I said, I'm here to do whatever you want. If you need me to be that guy for you, I'm your guy. And then 3 minutes later, Wittenmeyer has a headline, Kris Bryant volunteers to lead off for the Cubs. So Wittenmeyer, minutes apart, is actually, he's contradicting himself 3 minutes apart. Wonderful stuff. So Kris Bryant says he's open to it. Okay, so I rescind some of the stuff about loving that he's volunteering to.
Isn't the clickbait era just the best?
Jeez, it's weird to unclickbait your clickbait before you post the clickbait, which is apparently what Whitmire just did. Whatever. I do.
There was one that people were all over a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that insane Duke UNC game. That Duke ended up winning in overtime, but there was ESPN is by far the worst with clickbait stuff, and there was a video they posted on YouTube that said, I think it said like Roy Williams walks out of press conference after tough loss to Duke, but the press conference was over.
Right.
He didn't leave in the middle. So all the comments were like, yes, he did walk out after they had finished asking their questions.
Yeah. Headline, Roy Williams has to go home at some point. Headline, Roy Williams does not actually live in the press room, has a permanent residence. Yeah, so, okay. It seems like Chris Bryant's cool with it, at least, to some degree, so that's okay. And there is a lot of Chris Bryant's profile that works as a leadoff hitter. Obviously, high on-base guy, great base runner, like you said. People, I think, don't realize the kind of speed he has, and particularly the kind of base runner he is, even if he's not stealing a ton of bases. So I like all that. I also really like the idea of having your best hitters start the game right away. Like that, this gives you a pretty sexy top 5 in the lineup now.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because even if the trade-off is that maybe you're wasting some RBI potential from Bryant, if instead of a Happ a couple years ago or Hayward for a lot of last year, and it seems like the beginning of every game is starting with one out and nobody on, if you can flip that a little bit, I think that could be a really good thing. Now, this is this is the news you were alluding to before we started the podcast, right?
Yes.
I think I'm rooting so hard for you and I personally that I didn't think you were talking about Cubs news.
Oh, shit. Well, that's kind of nice when it comes to just friendship and stuff.
Yeah, well, Kevin and I were texting before this, and he texted something like, oh, by the way, some news. And in my mind, I was like, Kevin and his wife are having a kid? Or got a big-time job.
Yeah, or something career-wise. Yeah, I got a writing job. I'm on Fallon next week. Nope. The news is that Chris Bryant is theoretically maybe leading off, which might not even happen because we're so far away from the regular season.
No, it's a big deal, certainly, for us to talk about, but somehow in my mind I had conflated that with some sort of big announcement pertaining to you.
Yeah. No, I wish.
You going to hit leadoff?
I would hit leadoff. When I did play baseball, I would hit leadoff or ninth because I was a speedy switch hitter, and I had absolutely no power whatsoever because I basically stopped playing baseball and was just doing like basketball and football by the time I was like freshman year of high school. And my freshman year of high school, I was 5'10", 125 pounds, which was Cindy Crawford's build at the time. Exactly.
Differently proportioned, but
yes, I wasn't as curvy. I was pretty straight up and down, but not a lot of power in that frame. So yeah, it was very 1P-ish, yeah. So I do like, if you figure they're alternating right and left, which most lineups try to do anyway, but especially now with the reliever rules that you have to face 3 hitters in a row. You want to break up your righties and lefties, so the platoon advantage is less. You figure you got Bryant. You're starting every game. Bryant 1, Rizzo 2, probably Baez 3.
You think that's how it would work?
I think so. I think if Bryant's leading off righty, so you figure lefty is second, so it's either Schwarber or Rizzo. I'll say probably Rizzo 2. Javy 3, Schwarber 4, Contreras 5.
That's great. Yeah. I guess I'm just thinking that in terms of how the rest of the game would go, if you have Bryant and Rizzo as your 1 and 2, if there's a lot of potential for them coming up after like Almora and Lester, are you wasting chances to have your big, run producing guys drive-in runs, or does it just kind of balance out throughout the course of the game anyway once you've made that first trip around the lineup?
I think there is a touch of thinking, maybe you're wasting some on-base ability in front of your biggest hitters in that scenario, but I guess you think the advantage is just that you're getting you're getting those guys up to the plate a little more. You're getting Bryant up to the plate more, at least. Also, it could be a scenario where, with the way this lineup profiles right now, which to me, I'm seeing Ian Happ hopefully almost every day in center field.
Right.
Ian Happ, this is one of those cases where some people love it, some people hate it, but I do think if you're leading off Chris Bryant, maybe you have an Ian Happ hitting ninth situation with the pitcher aid, so you do a little more of that where Bryant leads off the game, but after that, basically Ian Happ's your leadoff hitter.
All right, so let's fill in the gaps then. So let's say we're going with the lineup that you just said. So you would have, if you're going like trying to go righty-lefty, you'd have Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Contreras. Mm-hmm. Then maybe you have like a Hayward or Souza.
Yeah, I think Hayward. Hayward on the days he plays would fit right there. Hayward,
or like Kipnis or Bodie in those positions basically are in the 6 and 7. Then you have pitcher spot Happ.
Yeah. I think that. Or I also, I mean, honestly, if I was putting the lineup together, like I said, I think Happ really does fit well at leadoff, and I would probably hit Happ 6th, and Hayward 8th if we're doing a traditional lineup. I just think Hayward is probably the worst hitter in that lineup overall. But one thing I did like, that I do like about Hayward in somewhere around the 6-7 spot is, for all his faults offensively, he does make a lot of contact. And when you have runners on, I like having contact in the middle of that lineup. Putting the ball in play, you just figure that ends up scoring more guys from third with one out, those kinds of things, as opposed to a guy like Happ, who made more contact last year but is more of a 3 true outcomes guy. You know, you're going to get more swing and miss there. So I can see the benefits to a Hayward in the middle of the lineup, middle back end of the lineup. But yeah, I think if you have Bryant 1, I think it opens you up to possibly trying to do that, the second leadoff hitter in the 9 spot, whether that's Happ or Jason Kipnis, possibly.
Right. Now, I mean, we have so much more to talk about once we actually get to like a legitimate season preview episode, but who in your mind offensively is the one guy who this season most hinges on, in terms of like, if his season goes as best as it possibly could versus as horribly as it could, who do you think has the biggest or maybe like an outsized impact?
I think that's a really good question, and God, I feel like you can make an argument for several people. I think we've talked about, God bless Bleacher Nation, I'm not on board with Jason Hayward as a superstar on Tuesdays in the morning when he's facing right-handers not in the leadoff position. So I'm not going to say for the 4th year in a row you hope Hayward is old Hayward, like old Hayward. Yeah. So I won't say that. I think I'm a believer in both the mini breakout of Ian Happ in these when he came back up last year, and the less mini breakout of Kyle Schwarber when, for all the talk about Castellanos, Schwarber was as good, if not better, offensively last year. So to me, it's one of those two guys. I think it's I just believe in Kyle Schwarber as a monster right now. Mm-hmm. So I guess I would say Ian Happ. I guess I want to see that Ian Happ's end of the year last year, if that is real Ian Happ, that makes this lineup a lot sexier to me.
Well, yeah, because think of how much deeper the lineup gets, because otherwise you've got, and let's just assume health for the sake of optimism, you've got an incredibly top-heavy lineup, especially with KB leading off now.
Yeah.
Not that he would have ever been in the bottom half, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
If we're talking about those first 5 guys we mentioned, that's as good of a top 5 of any lineup in baseball, I would say. And I really don't think I'm even being biased saying that.
No, I don't think so.
But then once you get to the bottom, what are you really looking at? Because if the guys who are involved in that are like Hayward, Souza, Kipnis, Bodie, Almora, none of those names really jump out as being like, ooh, that's a dangerous hitter.
Basically, that's what we get with the Cubs offseason this year. Is the guys they signed are guys who've had years of star level performance, but in both Kipnis and Souza's cases, those years are removed by multiple years. So
I think it would be ridiculous for us to expect to get anywhere near Kipnis's production pre-injuries.
Yeah, I mean, because Kipnis's last superstar year was 2016, star year, I would say it was 2016, and then Sousa's was, I believe, a year after that. But you're looking, it's both. It's flyers. Either of these guys could end up being Carlos Gonzalez's, but you're counting on one of those guys to really hit to lengthen your lineup. I'm also a David Bodie believer. I think he's underrated offensively, and I would like to see him get more get more consistent playing time. But yeah, I think if I'm saying the one guy who offensively, in terms of a boom or bust thing, really changes this lineup, I'd say it's Hap. Who would you say to answer your own question?
I mean, I was kind of thinking Hap just because I feel like there's the biggest range of how it could go.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's not inconceivable to think that Schwarber might have a similar season where he puts up, solid power numbers, but still hits, 240. But yeah, I mean, when you think about Hap going back and forth between like he's in the minors versus he seems like he could be a really huge part of this team. Like the way you were describing Hayward, I'm kind of that way with Almora, where like I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt until he shows us anything other than what he's just proven himself to be. In the same way that we were talking about Addison Russell, apart from all him being a piece of shit stuff. Like,
sure.
If you show yourself to be something, then maybe you just are that.
Yeah.
You can't be dreaming on something that kind of happened 4 years ago.
Totally, and that's something we said about Addison Russell, both as a human and as a baseball player.
Yeah.
I think we were on the, as to people who are definitely not haters, I do think we were on the Addison Russell is not actually good train before a lot of other people seem to be willing to admit that.
Right.
And yeah, I think Almora, God bless him, he seems like whatever. Also like Hayward. Great guy, great in the clubhouse. Everybody likes him. Good defense, even though his defense was also bad last year in Almora's case. But yeah, he's got to basically, it's like rookie year for him. He's got to earn his way. He's got to sort of force his way into playing contention at this point. And I wouldn't be right now. I think as the year begins, you have to assume Almora starts in a bench role and is coming in as a defensive replacement late in games and maybe starting against an occasional lefty. But that's Hap's a switch hitter. I'd still generally rather see happen there. But I would not be that surprised if Almora got last year's Hap treatment and started the year in Iowa. He's got options.
I was just thinking that, and I feel like that might be the best thing for him.
I think so too. I mean, like, is he going to be something or not? And I don't think him getting, and if he's going to be something, it's going to take a turnaround offensively. And I don't see the at bats on the major league level to start the year,
right,
to give him that. And you don't really have a very good defensive replacement center fielder besides him. On your bench, that's why one of the reasons why I was in favor of signing, Billy Hamilton type just for the end of this bench.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think as the more I look at it, the more I feel like I would kind of rather start Almora in the minors and see him get those at bats and have him show a consistent approach before we bring him up again.
But then the question always becomes like, okay, is that an opportunity for him to get his groove back by actually getting regular bats, or is just the fact of starting the season in the minors going to do more harm than good for his psyche? And again, we talked about it a lot last year, but I don't think it's a coincidence that his numbers were significantly better before what happened in Houston.
No, I don't think so either. And he has said in recent weeks that he just mentally was not where he wanted to be last year, and he didn't blame that, but he just said mentally he was in a place that he hadn't been before, and he didn't feel like himself, and that definitely affected his play. I think Almora is a guy, just what his character seems to be. I think he would take everyday at bats in Iowa as a challenge with a goal at the end, knowing that the plan is for you to come back up. They tendered him a contract for a team that's pinching pennies like this. They didn't have to do that to a guy who was literally one of the worst offensive players in baseball over the last year and a half, if not the worst, outside of Baltimore Chris Davis. But he he was tendered a $1.8 million deal. And this team wouldn't do that if they didn't think, especially wouldn't do that this offseason if they didn't think that there could be something there. So I think...
Do you think that's Theo being stubborn because that's his first round pick?
I think it could have been in the past. I don't think it is right now, just because of how absurd this offseason has been in terms of every dime counting, not tendering Kendall Graveman after picking him up, stuff like that, when the Cubs could really use starters to fill out the rotation for cheap. So the more I think about it, the more I think starting Almora in Iowa makes more sense. But I guess that's also what Arizona's for. We'll see how he looks in spring training. He's going to get at-bats there. Mark Zagunis is kind of a forgotten guy, too, although Steven Souza basically takes, you'd figure, the right-handed platoon corner outfielder role from him.
Yeah, when we've talked about this so many times, it just seems like Zagunis is a perfect fit to be on an AL team as a pinch hitter, DH sort of guy on a not-so-great team.
Totally. Yeah, he seems, he's a guy who's always had on-base ability, hits lefties, and had a good year again in Iowa last year, but now that Taylor Davis is gone, he's borderline, mayor of Des Moines, he's just been there.
He's kind of that he's that 4A sort of guy, it seems like.
Yeah, I would be happy to see him up on the Cubs roster. I like Zagunis. I think he's a good functional major league player. But if we're not going to see him, he makes a ton of sense to just move, as you say, to an AL team for a piece that you might need, and maybe that's the kind of move we'll see towards the end of spring training too, as rosters come into shape.
Well, I'll tell you what, whatever happens with Almora, if it weren't for his presence of mind to tag up, I don't think we'd have that big piece of metal that we all like so much.
That big hunk of metal, that cluttery, clangy metal thing. Man, Rob Manfred, that guy sucks. I didn't like him before. I'm not offended as offended by him referring to the trophy as a piece of metal as a lot of the players are. I understand why they are. I also think it's a little performative because they're mad at him for other things and they hopped on a casual turn of phrase, kind of, Yeah. It was a very
very poor choice of words.
Yeah. I don't believe the players' feelings are actually hurt about it. I just think they're like, oh well, we hate this guy and let's fuck him up over this now. Which
Justin Turner was shaking. He was so mad.
I didn't see that. That's fun.
I shared the link to it. He was very upset. He basically said
he said take your name off, right?
Yeah, he was the only thing that's basically that the only thing that devalues it is the fact that the word commissioner is on it.
Yeah, I like that. Man, Manfred don't want the smoke. he is getting...
Well, you can't just come out and be snarky with everybody and be annoyed that you're getting questions about a major scandal.
He is such a whiny bitch too, man. He did you see him talking to one of the reporters who he basically, I think Manfred said, the quote was something and you managed to, speaking directly to a reporter, and you managed to get what was a personal correspondence between myself and, the team, and it was not supposed to get out. So, nice reporting on that. And it's yeah, it is nice reporting. You dumbass. It's quite literally nice reporting. It's just the privilege off this guy who's just furious about people not kissing his ass at every turn and thinking he's perfect, and the fact that he's held accountable for anything, which he barely is, infuriates him.
I don't mean to turn this political, but I think everybody here knows what our beliefs are. He has the level of arrogance of a Brett Kavanaugh, where he was this is just something that's owed to me. I just get to be this.
Oh yeah, totally. He basically is on the verge of tears just by being asked any questions. So yeah, absolutely. It's I cannot believe how bad Rob Manfred sucks. I can't think of a sports commissioner that's had a worse couple of months outside of Gary Bettman, who shuts down his league every 4 years, but outside
NHL.
He's just been terrible, and he shows no signs of getting better.
Do you think he will be forced out?
No, because he works for the owners. I mean, I don't think he'll be forced out anytime soon. I think the owners seem to be perfectly happy with him.
As long as everybody's making money, nobody is going to force him out, I guess.
Exactly. So, all right. Do we have anything else Manfred-wise or lineup-wise?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just been funny to continue to see, like, as everybody's getting to spring training, all of the people who are speaking pretty candidly about the Astros, and it's going to be very interesting. And also the whole idea that there are going to be punishments if people hit the Astros. Mm-hmm. That's going to be interesting all year because obviously some people will just blatantly try to hit them, and that is what it is. But also people are going to pitch inside because that's how baseball works. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of bullshit this year around guys getting like warnings for throwing an inside pitch against the Astros because of umpires being like overly reactionary as they tend to be, but especially now.
I think that's definitely true, and I think that's going to be the most annoying thing about Astros games is the unintentional hit by pitches that then knock the pitcher out of the game, giving the Astros thereby an even greater advantage once again. That's going to be very annoying. Did you? I assume you saw the quotes this week where Javy came out and was saying that he felt last year himself. And a lot of the other players were getting ready during the game, basically talking about Madden's managing style.
I actually haven't read the piece, so tell me about it, because I know you had posted that, like, the degree to which that is blamed on Madden is perhaps something that is being overstated because of the fact that he's not here anymore.
Yeah, to me and some Twitter friends, I've seen a lot of yelling about this is why Madden should have been gone a year ago, and I'm not even saying that that's not possibly true, but the amount of anger that I've seen thrown at Joe Madden when to me it seems like his biggest mistake. So first I'll say that what Javy said was that he was getting ready during games. He felt like that he wasn't ready till like the third or fourth inning. And he felt like that a lot of players were doing that. Now, I'll give Javy a little leeway there because I think this could be a case of when a new manager comes in, everyone's sort of telling themselves a story. Everyone's building a narrative to get yourself ready for the season, and they have to. These players should be convincing themselves that something is different, because the lineup didn't really change. The roster didn't really change. So I totally understand them building up like, oh yeah, we're optimistic going in with David Ross. This is different. Things have changed. It'll be better. Great. Love that. So I think some of this might be Javy overstating what happened a little bit. But first of all, no one benefited from belief in a laissez-faire like attitude in managing more than Javy Baez, who Joe Madden always supported, always said this is a guy who is unique the way he plays the game, and you can't treat him like other people. You got to let his magic happen. So I think that specifically, Joe Madden's managerial style specifically worked for Javy Baez.
Yeah, I mean, to borrow Maddenism, Javy's always been one of those guys who played with his hair on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And Madden let him, and I think that clearly worked for Javy Baez better than a lot of us thought it ever could.
You think if Javy comes up in Pittsburgh 4 years ago, the same thing's going to happen?
No. Yeah. I can't imagine Javy and Clint Hurdle as a marriage. But so A, there's that. And then B, I think to me it seems like Joe Madden's biggest mistake, which apparently was a mistake, was treating his players like adult professionals. This team won a World Series. If they don't know how to get ready for a fucking game, how are we the most mad at Joe Madden about this? If we think a different manager was the difference between what the Cubs have been the past couple years and a World Series winning team, I think we're giving the players too much credit because those are not champion players in those years if they can't tell themselves how to be a professional. It's not a team full of rookies. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, if Javy were pertaining specifically to the thing that Madden would do that was like, American Legion Week, where he says, like, I don't want you to even be here until, like, an hour before the game. If Javy were like, yeah, that didn't really work for me, then, okay, fine. But you're a professional athlete. You know what you need to do and what your body needs to feel loose and ready for a game. So if the alternative is somebody making it mandatory for you to be in the clubhouse 4 hours before first pitch, is that really what you want?
It seems like a lot of players not taking accountability, really. And Javy, I'm not even sure this is true with Javy. Like, the guy played well, and this. I'm not even saying that this isn't part of the reason why moving on from Madden could be the right decision. It could be, and I hope it is, because that's what we have now. But I just don't think. I still don't think Madden is the main guy to blame here. I think it's a real bummer if your players needed an adult in the room to tell them what to do at this point to that level. But I do hope it works.
I hope it works for both of them. I mean, I have every confidence that Madden is going to be a great manager for the Angels.
Yeah, me too. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to... I really hope the Angels fuck up the Astros quite a bit this year. That'll be...
Yeah. I'm all in on the Angels because I've always been a Trout guy. Ohtani is super fun, and now with Madden being involved, it's just like I don't really have an AL team. I used to claim the Red Sox back when they sucked, and now they're just no fun anymore.
Yes, correct. Yeah, totally agree. And Listella's over there too. Joe Adell's coming up soon. He's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm in on them too. I have, and this isn't super breaking news, but it's something maybe people who don't obsessively follow prospect stuff might not know. But the Cubs seem to be the landing spot for, if not the consensus number one international prospect in this upcoming signing period, at top 2. I've seen Fangraphs had him at 2. Most of the other places had him at 1. But Christian Hernandez, a 16-year-old shortstop who is 6'1", 170 right now, pretty big for 16. And he seems to have agreed with the Cubs. You know, the weird thing in international signings where nothing's official, but all the terms are worked out way in advance, on a $3.5 million deal, which is big. All
right, so in 4 years, he'll slide into short. Javy can move to second.
Sounds perfect. Yeah. Yeah, and it is, for a farm system that's getting better, now seems like it has consensus for top 100 guys. This is exciting. This is a cool thing, cool way to add some talent. A guy who, basically, it's like adding a first-round pick when you're able to secure a guy like this. And it's an athletic, tall and lean shortstop, 16 years old, so yeah, he's not going to be up in the majors for 4 or 5, 6 years, even if he's fantastic. But that's an exciting thing.
Well, we'll see how the next few years go. I think the hope for me, and I think what Epstein wanted to build and said as much, is like, I wanted this Cubs era to be like the 90s Braves, except just do better in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it turns out that that's what the Dodgers are, but...
True. Yeah, totally. I think the Dodgers really have been the Dodgers have been the 90s Braves, almost even more so with the playoff futility after just
some of which may not be their fault, but
no, I think I'm going to end up picking them to win the World Series this year. I mean, adding Mookie Betts and David Price for nothing when you're already the best team.
Is this going to be the first year we don't pick the Cubs in our season preview episode?
I mean, I don't want to give spoilers, but I believe I am not picking the Cubs to win the World Series this year. I mean, I'm picking them in my heart, but yeah.
The realistic pick, which is also the sexy pick, is Yankees-Dodgers. Mm-hmm. The fun pick for me is Cubs-Angels.
Cubs-Angels would be very fun. Yeah, or straight up good guy, bad guy, Cubs-Astros. That's how you get the world back on the Cubs side. Everyone rooting one way against the other. Yeah.
Well, and that's... I would hate to see MLB get rewarded for any of this, but like if the Astros do make it to the World Series, there's going to be plenty of interest in that series, even if it's against some big market NL team.
Right. Yeah, I think it's them, and it's almost impossible to imagine them not making the playoffs. And then if they do make the playoffs, just the world will be rooting for every team that goes up against them. A real classic pro wrestling heel, Iron Sheik shit.
Well, even things that, like, I don't know how many Astros will make the All-Star team. That should be something that's written into, like, they just don't get to have any this year.
Yeah, unrepresented in the All-Star game. Yeah, because it'll be fun to see them get the shit booed out of them. Yeah.
Well, right, yeah, because I was thinking, like, if Bregman and Altuve are on the team, how chummy do the rest of the guys on that team want to be with them?
I think, as we said last week, it's been really interesting to see how much the players have been upfront with how much they've lost respect for those players specifically. You don't see that a lot in pro sports, you know. Yeah, I think that's all the baseball I have to talk about. You know who is going to Arizona this week is me. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
So myself and the brothers McCaffrey, my brothers Joe and Pat, we're all meeting up. We're going to be at the first two spring training games. Going to be there Friday. Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday it's a home game. On Sunday it is away at Camelback Ranch for the Dodgers. So we're gonna be there. So if you want to holler at us if you're there, hit us at Away Games Pod. Myself, Joe, and Pat will be there, and drunk and wearing Cubs things. So I'm excited to do that this weekend.
Do you know if it's possible to bet on spring training games at Thrive Fantasy?
You know, I don't, but there's only one way to find out. Isn't that true?
That's true. You should go. You should check out Thrive Fantasy. And we still have the same promo code. You still get $10, a free $10 if you use promo code Away Games. I think you should do that.
I think believe me, if it is possible, I'm going to gamble on the games I'm drunkenly watching on Thrive Fantasy, and I'm going to get $10 free for signing up with Away Games as the promo code, even though it's my promo code.
I know. Put money back into your pocket.
It's a fix. It's an Astros-style cheat, except we all win. So yeah.
I mean, what safer place to make a prop bet than the first spring training game?
Yeah, when everyone's number is like 130.
Only Pete Rose would be involved in such a bet.
Yes. Oh man, how is he not the spokesman for one of these gambling sites? Yeah, I think that's all. That's all I got. You good to go?
I'm good to go, man. Have a good time in Arizona.
Yeah, follow us.
Post some pictures. Put some stuff on the Instagram story.
We will. Follow us at Away Games Pod on Insta and Twitter for all that. And maybe I'll see some of you in Arizona this weekend. Thanks.